All right, let's move on to Virat Kohli. Yeah, phenomenal. He hasn't just reached the 12,000 mark a match or two or three before Sachin Tendulkar and Ricky Ponting. He's gotten there miles ahead of these two fabulous, record-breaking cricketers. So what can we expect from Kohli? Well, if he remains fit and, he has brought in a new level of fitness to the Indian cricket team, a new benchmark of fitness, I think he, and he's a batsman. He doesn't bowl either. All-rounders sometimes get a little, ragged. But he's got at least 5 years ahead of him, if not more. And potentially every Sachin Tendulkar record is in danger. Certainly in terms of getting there quickly. I mean, Kohli's been prolific, fabulous.
But how significant would you say is this record against many others that Virat Kohli has already broken?
Well, if you go deeper into statistics, so one, of course, is the obvious view. But if you go deeper into them, then something like how quickly have you reached is a very important statistic. I mean, he can score 20,000 runs. But if he takes another 100 matches more than Tendulkar or 50 more than Ponting, then it's obviously a question of longevity. He's just been there for so long that records are broken. But can you break records in quick time or quicker time? I think that's a very remarkable aspect of statistics, that people get there quicker. You might argue that there are more matches played every year, but forget all those minor situations. To get to a record quicker, I think is a mark of well, that's truly shattering records, not just breaking them just because of time.
Right, that's a key thing, that you get it in quicker time than your previous generation. Andrew, I'll just have to ask you this question about Australians, loving Virat Kohli from hating Virat Kohli. In fact, a few years back, it's completely the opposite now. They have booed Virat Kohli in Australia previously, and now there are chants about Virat. How, this transformation came about?
Yeah, I think, in Australia, if you get either extreme boos or extreme love, I think it's a sign that, there's a bit of love there anyway. But I think Australians have just come to really admire Virat Kohli. He's a beautiful batsman. He's a really great fielder. He's a great competitor. But even though he gets competitive, he still respects his opponent. I think that's really come through the last couple of series. And he's a really attacking captain. There's been some great contests in test matches and one-dayers under his stewardship, be that be when Payne has been in charge or when Smith has been in charge. And I think the Australian crowds have really responded to that. And, we've always loved, we love Brian Lara, we love Sachin Tendulkar, going back even further, people love Viv Richards, that, they'll always love a great competitor. And I think Virat Kohli has elevated himself to that pantheon of a great competitor who we respect. And yeah, the crowds do love him.
Charu, there's always this question among fans and among experts, who's the best of the generation, Virat Kohli or Steve Smith?
Well, I mean, this is going to be controversial, because even Kane Williamson from New Zealand is going to throw his hat into this ring, because he's a fabulous bat. Has done, New Zealand almost somehow go under the radar, but he is certainly one of the better batsmen in the world right now. So we'll have to call it a tie between Kohli and Steve Smith, because I'm sorry, I'm sitting on the fence here. Steve's done very well in the one-day series right now because he's playing at home. Home conditions matter a lot. But I do think that in terms of overall global achievement in every country, I'm sorry, Vice Consul Collister, I think Kohli is a step ahead at this point of time. But Steve, of course, is a very hard man to out because of his rather unique, unorthodox manner. He's not quite as pleasing maybe to watch as Kohli as well, but he's prolific too. So in terms of run getting, they're both the same. But in terms of global achievement so far, add to that the burden of captaincy, and that too of a country such as India, where there's so much emotion that goes into everything. I think Kohli's done very well to handle himself. And by the way, the reason, one of the reasons that the Australians may love him is because I think he out-Australians the Australians in terms of attitude, if you know what I mean.
Right. In fact, I was talking to Steve Waugh ahead of the series, and he said we wouldn't mind having Kohli in our team. Like Charu mentioned, I like to bring up a graphic for our viewers talking about Kohli's exploits in the SENA countries, which means South Africa, England, New Zealand and Australia. You will see he has scored more runs than Sachin Tendulkar, and that's the graphic on your screen. He has scored more runs than Sachin Tendulkar, and his average in these countries and strike rate also has been way better. I'm also joined by Amanda Hayden, one of Virat Kohli fans and a fan of Royal Challengers Bangalore team, Indian fan as well, on the show. Amanda, your captain Virat Kohli didn't go on to win an IPL title this time around, but he's doing well in Australia and he's being talked about for those 12,000 runs. A moment for fans like you to celebrate as well?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels so good. I mean, I think as fans, we're really used to seeing him hit, and make new records. And, it's not a surprise. And like, I think, everyone in India shares that excitement and that happiness every time he breaks a new record and every time he does well. So, yeah, as a Virat Kohli fan, I'm so happy. And again, I'm pretty used to seeing him break records now.
Right. Charu, before we close out this discussion, I'll have to ask you about Virat Kohli's strike rate in this series, which is much lower than his strike rate in Australia. Would you say that's because the lower order batsmen, though they did well today, didn't whip up his confidence and, his strategy really in the series?
Well, this is a tough one. You go to Australia, remember it's a one-day contest and not T20s. So strike rates are important, yes, but they are not quite as important as in the T20s, where if you get to anywhere near 140, 150, you're a proven match winner. But one day, if you're hanging around anywhere near 100 or even the 90s in terms of career strike rate, that is not bad at all. And remember that if you are the anchor of a one-day international side, the strike rate is not that important because you need to be there for long periods and get your team to a decent total. The strike rate is perhaps a little more important lower down the order, where you've seen Pandya do wonders, you've seen Jadeja every once in a while, because you have about 7, 8, 10 overs and you can go really hard if you have wickets in hand. But I think in one-dayers, strike rates just, need to be kept aside for a while. Yes, it wasn't quite that good. You go to a new country, new conditions, a new format of the game, as in one-dayers, not T20s. And it's understandable that Kohli would want to anchor the side to a large total, with himself, of course, scoring quite a bit, not paying so much attention to how quickly is he scoring. And remember, of course, due credit to the Australian bowlers too, because they are a handful, some of the best bowlers in the world. So you can't really toy around with them, especially at the top of the order when wickets in hand are important.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Andrew. Thank you, Charu and Amanda, for joining me on the broadcast this evening.